Hello, hello, everyone. I am so excited for today because we're talking about a beautiful season that we have now begun, the zodiac season of Cancer. And I'm so excited because we have Nicola in the studio. As usual, we like to do this introduction to the upcoming zodiac season. So, Nicola, if you are new to the Bold Business Podcast, is our incredible human design reader. She is a cosmic guide and a radiance coach. And if you want to book a reading with her for Cancer season, or you want to gift a reading to your favorite Cancer, make sure that you do that because this season, I feel like is just such a lovely opening season. I think it's a heart opening. I think it's really taking us into, from the astrology point of view, this is like the beginning of summer. It's taking us into a new
Yeah.
era, a new season for us. And man, do we need it in 2025. So, Nicola and I are about to break down all the goodies about Cancer. Here we go. So, Nicola, welcome. Are you excited for this Cancer season?
Yes, yes. I mean, just with, what we were catching up with before we started recording, like this is such a season of like really checking in with ourselves, how we're
Yes.
doing, looking after ourselves. So I think it's a beautiful season to explore, to connect with, to really be looking after ourselves and yeah.
Yes, I fully agree. I fully agree. I think Cancer is often thought of as a giver, but it's like the invitation, I think, for so many of us is like, how can we give to ourselves? What do we need? And making sure we have that balance in this particular season. So we're switching over from Gemini into Cancer. Do you want to give us an introduction to the sign of Cancer, Cancer energy? How is this going to feel different? Take it away.
So different to Gemini. I mean, Gemini is this fast-paced air sign, and then we're moving into the watery depths of Cancer. So Cancer is associated with the archetype of the Great Mother. And as a Cancer rising, like it's one of my big three, I've always been really challenged with this archetype of the mother. It's not something I've resonated with, and I
Mhm.
realize it's because I don't resonate with the archetype of the carer. So I'm very caring, but I never really connected with that whole, I didn't see myself as a carer. And once I started really understanding Cancer energy more in terms of its mode, so it's a cardinal sign, once I pulled on the thread of what cardinal energy holds, I started really kind of getting the energy of Cancer. Uh,
Mhm.
so cardinal signs are always the start of the season. So we're at the start of summer and it's all about like new beginnings, new season energy. So like you mentioned, we're at the solstice. So when the sun moves into 0 degrees of any of the cardinal signs, it's either equinox or solstice time. So it's so interesting because we've got this cardinal energy, which is new beginning, but the solstice is really this opportunity for us to pause, to take a moment to reflect and look back on the last 6 months. It's like a little moment to think and pause and reflect before we leap into the new, into the new adventure. So I know another thing, Jamie Goldstein, who's an astrologer that we both know.
Yes, love Jamie.
She links this cardinal energy, this Cancer energy to the birthing mysteries.
Ooh.
And I love this idea because all of a sudden, like I said, it wasn't resonating with the mother, it wasn't resonating with the idea of the carer. But as someone who, births things into life, business owners, we create things.
Hmm.
All of a sudden, I was like, yes, I kind of get that. I am someone who likes to create things and bring things into form. Like, I think anybody who's a business owner, we are essentially doing that. And it's very important, I feel, as business owners that we evolve from maiden to mother so that we actually bringing things into form. We're actually taking that kind of responsibility, even like, are we willing to go through the birthing pains of
Hmm.
creating a business,
Hmm.
the expansion and the contraction? Like they are both the birthing pains.
Yes. A lot
So
of people just want the baby, They're like, just give me the baby when it's peaceful sleeping. Like, don't give me the pains. Don't give me the sleepless nights. Don't give me the, checking the color of the poop, for the first few months. Don't give me that.
exactly. And then when we're like in this maiden energy, we're running around like having these big dreams, these big ideas, and everything is very almost, I would say, innocent and idealistic. And it's like if you can step into this whole mother energy, especially with your business, this is when you're willing to do the tough stuff. Because the mother energy is very strong. There's a lot of strength in this archetype. I mean, if you think about the constellation that we associate Cancer with, it is the crab. It is like this very fierce protector energy, you know.
Yes, the hard shell, the claws. Yes.
Yes, and it brings this like warrior energy to the mother. It's like, what is a mother? And I think you will, as a mother, relate to this. Like, what are you not willing to do for your child? Like, I
Yeah,
think
nothing.
exactly.
Nothing I'm not willing to do.
Exactly. But all of us can like tap into this, especially if we you bring this into business. It's like we need a certain amount of resilience and strength to like bring these tender, vulnerable parts of ourselves, which is like our dream and our vision into life. Like that takes a lot of courage and vulnerability, I would
Hmm.
say. And this is where this whole, the magic of the crab, it's like fiercely protective, but it's got this soft, vulnerable inside. And this is also where the magic is. It's in the
Hmm.
softness.
Yes.
Um, well, actually, there's a Brené Brown quote which I love, which is vulnerability is the birthplace of innovation, creativity, and change.
Ooh. Hmm.
And yeah, I mean, I just love that image, and I think it really captures what we're talking about here.
Yes. Yes.
Strength, softness, vulnerability, protection, but not as a defense mechanism.
Hmm. Yes.
Um,
It's so easy. I think it's so much easier to not be vulnerable than to be vulnerable. I think being vulnerable is very courageous to show your heart and be willing to be disappointed or be willing to be hurt or be willing to, have someone misunderstand. And so I think sometimes, with pop astrology, Cancer gets reduced to someone who cries, right? That's like a big stereotype. It's like, oh, they're a boohoo, like they're big feelers and they cry. And it's so I feel like it's so regressive, so suppressive, such a un under like a misunderstanding of the power of softness, the power of feeling, and the courage it requires.
yes, because ultimately, like our vulnerability is what creates connection. And
Mhm.
I mean, this could be a really good time to talk about the words that you've kind of picked out for
Yes,
our
yes.
Cancer
Mhm.
season.
Yeah, so in the constellation community, every month we go through the zodiac season. We talk about the key dates in the cosmic calendar that we have. And it's a great time for us to really anchor into the energy. And so I like to bring in three keywords that are the theme for that season. And I base it on the zodiac sign itself, of course, Cancer, but also looking at some of the dates coming up which I'll get into at the end of the podcast today. So stay tuned. But the three keywords that I chose for Cancer season are heart, connection, and community. And though all those three things go together, and yet they are distinct parts of the whole. So, bringing in Cancer season, Cancer as a sign is very connected to the heart. It is about being heart-centered and heart-led. And coming from Gemini season, which is mind-centered and mind-led, it's quite a shift. We need both. We need the heart and the mind. But this is the season where you're really being invited to connect to the self and what the self knows in its deepest form. And something that's beautiful about the human design here is that the heart center in human design, or I should say the heart chakra, when it's expressed in human design, is connected to the identity center, the G center, and also the heart. center, which is sometimes called the ego. And Cancer season begins with the sun in gate 15, which is where it still is today, I believe, and where it was for solstice. And gate 15, a Cancerian gate, is in that G center, the identity center. So there's this, if I weave all that together, what it means is that who we are, our identity, the center of ourselves, helps to define our direction. So we as humans are naturally heart-centered, but sometimes we get away from that. Sometimes we become disconnected from that. Sometimes we lose sight of ourselves and therefore lose sight of the path. So if anyone is listening and they're, trying to, and they're in the process of figuring out their purpose or perhaps wanting to find more clarity for their next step, go inward. Go inward and do the work of identity, self, and heart, and the clarity will come. I truly believe that, and I've seen it time after time after time in myself and my clients. And then the other two words are connection and community. Connection, I think, is something that we're all seeking. I think it's something the world desperately needs right now, is like true connection. And when we're truly ourselves, we can truly connect and we can truly see the beauty in the difference and the uniqueness and the variety in the world, right? So that connection, finding your people that are on maybe a similar path or are also heart-centered as you are, that's a beautiful invitation of that I believe, the universe has for us in Cancer season. So if you feel disconnected from friends, family, community, this is a time to say, all right, well, who are my people and where are they? And how can I find them? And how can I connect to them? So it's that connection that then can become community. None of us, I don't believe, are meant to kind of live on our own in a mountain cave. I don't think that's what the human experience is about. And so, how can we hold hands together and be more connected? I think a lot of people are already doing a great job, and there are some amazing spaces, Cosmic Queen included there, for people to come and connect and be together as we forge our path forward. So, don't
Yeah.
count yourself out of that either.
I love what you said there. If I'm just going to interject.
Yeah, go
But
ahead.
I feel like also like people are such a mirror for us. So
Mm,
if we're feeling like disconnected from the people in our lives, it's like where are we disconnecting from ourselves?
hmm.
I think this is the beauty of astrology. It's like a way to connect with self. So
Yes.
when we're feeling disconnected out there, there's probably something inside that's feeling disconnected. And it's like, how can we look at that mirror and be like, okay, it really is time for the inner work. Like you said, the sign has so much to do with nourishment and home. And it's like, how can we really look after our inner home, nourish the self,
Yes.
connect with the self? And then that makes us more open and our hearts more open to be connecting with like our soul family,
Yes.
people in our lives. And I think I always look at the opposite. So Capricorn is the opposite sign of Cancer on
Yes,
the
good point.
wheel. And it's like I feel like the work we do inside, like the what we build in, like we build inside Cancer, we build inside so that we can build outside, which is
Yes,
Capricorn.
yes, yes. And that's why family, I'm so glad you brought the point of family and home in here because I think I do think some of us, maybe not psychologists and therapists and coaches, but I think a lot of us do underestimate the importance of the home and the importance of the energy of where you live and sleep and are raised. And I think that there's a beautiful movement for reparenting that ourselves, right? That we can all take part of once we are independent and adults and we can make our own decisions. And I'm doing a lot of reparenting myself right now. And on the inside, that is a deep and beautiful and painful and incredible process. And on the outside, it looks like, maybe redecorating my room and reconnecting to the sense of home and creating new routines for me and my son and rituals and, ways to make it feel like our space. And so that's another really kind of physical, easy way that you can start connecting in to this sense of home and stability as well is like, well, look around you. Like, how's your bed? Are the sheets scratchy? Is there a way that you can maybe put some art on the wall that you made or, whatever it is. But nesting in more and thinking, well, how can I create a space that feels good to me, even if it's not perfect, even if it's not what you would dream of, how can I make this space feel like home?
Yes, I mean the hermit crab, also a
Yes.
crab, it's got its home on its back. So
Yeah.
like you take your home with you. Like we are always like in an opportunity to create that sense of home.
Mhm.
And that can be like, inside, outside, like you've just beautifully like demonstrated. And just always knowing, like reminding ourselves like we have the power and the strength to like create that sense of home for ourselves.
Yes. Yes, exactly. In the little ways and in the big ways too.
And even as business owners, it's like, where are our home spaces in our business? And how
Yes.
are we feeling about those spaces?
Yes.
So, our social media, our blogs, our websites, like any of these like online home spaces, even like we obviously like physically, like you might have an office, you might work from home, but online as well. Like, is it maybe time to do a bit of a cleanup there, making sure that's all looking nice and
Yes.
somewhere you love to hang out?
Yes. Oh, you just reminded me. I need to do some cleanup on my website. I think it still has the timer on from my last masterclass. Yes, let's tidy up. Let's make sure
Yeah.
our home space is right. Yeah, I love that. So tell us, we've talked about all the juicy invitations, all the good things that we can tap into for Cancer season. What about the things we need to watch out for? What about the things that Cancer is maybe not so good at, or can kind of the traps that can easily fall into?
I think something I kind of touched on earlier was just that kind of like hard exterior that, although is like there to create a boundary and keep us safe, can sometimes become like an unhealthy defense mechanism that blocks us from the connection and the intimacy that we crave as,
Mhm.
you know, Cancerian beings. Like we've all got cancer in our chart somewhere. We all want that connection. And it's just about, like realizing that we can hold our feelings. I mean, if you're thinking about like cancer as a water sign, you were saying about like one of the tropes is like cancers cry all the time.
Yeah, and nothing wrong with crying, okay, you guys? Like,
Exactly.
let's get it
There,
together.
there can be so much strength in
Yeah.
being able to process and feel our feelings and being connected to that part
Yes.
of it. Because what can happen in the protection is that we disconnect from even like our own feelings. Like we
Yes.
don't even want to feel.
Yes. Yeah,
Um,
and not crying is not healthy. I mean, that's how we create stuckness in the body and the energy. Like, yeah, if you need to cry, cry. Mm.
yeah, so I think it's about really, just becoming aware of where are we protecting too much
Hmm.
because maybe we don't trust ourselves
Yes.
um, to be able to handle the hard
Yeah.
ones.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where it's I think that what we think is going to happen when we allow ourselves to feel our feelings is so much easier. Like what we think is going to happen is so much worse in our mind. Like we think once we start crying, we'll never stop and we'll end up like in like a home. And like, we think we're gonna like overdo it and then let all of our junk out of the junk drawer. But actually, it's really hard for people to cry longer than what is the number, like 7 minutes or something. It's like very difficult for you to like force yourself to cry longer. You crying is a beautiful expression and a way of allowing yourself to feel. And if you allow yourself to feel, then it can actually pass through you. And the same with anger, the same with sadness, the same with joy. Allow it to pass through, and it gets easier and easier and easier. And
Mm.
then it's not stuck creating issues in the body. Yeah.
Yeah, and those are like really big emotions, but I've also like looked at things like numbness as a feeling.
Mm.
Like when we numb, we're not feeling anything, but it is actually a feeling.
Mm.
And it's really interesting to start exploring that feeling of not feeling
Uh-huh.
and following that breadcrumb and starting to again just connect a little bit more and exploring and being curious. especially when we are, we're not connecting to like what is our purpose. That's one of the big business owner things. Like when we entrepreneurs, we always like have this huge mission on what is my purpose. And
Hmm. Hmm.
I think like, you find that in the little things, like just experiencing it all and looking at like the little clues, like when you were talking about the inner child work, like, well, if you do look at your inner child, like what does that part of you want to do? What does
Hmm.
that part of you want to be expressing?
Hmm.
I always like the whole thing of like, this is maybe a bit more Leo, but if you put your inner child in charge for the day, like, are you doing those things to make yourself feel nourished, again, filling your cup?
Hmm.
Because if you think about, sorry, I'm jumping around, but it's just if you're thinking about the archetype of the carer, it's like we cannot give to other people if we're not filling our own cup.
Mm, yes.
So I think it's really important to be like doing all this emotional intelligence work, to be exploring the things that light us up, and to be making sure like we are fully resourced to be able to like be what we want to be for the people in our community.
Absolutely. Oh, I love this. Um, And then going back to some of the more challenging sides of cancer, the reasons that cancer can sometimes get a bad rap, beyond the emotionality, I think there are a few things I want to name. So, a few things that some people will you may hear on the internet is things like emotional manipulation as being a Cancerian quality, or having absolutely no like it's just like emotional, vomit all over everything, like no emotional intelligence, no kind of control or power. And then clinginess, or kind of getting very codependent. And I'd love us to maybe share a little bit about how we see this, and maybe even in ourselves. So I know that you have a strong Cancer energy, and then I have Cancer in my fifth house as well. Um, yeah, do you have any thoughts about these things? I often see the, quote unquote shadow sides or the challenging sides of signs as being the extremes of the signs. So it's like where
Mhm.
you either get too much of a good thing or not enough, and we're suppressing the sign. So yeah, I don't know. Do you have any thoughts about those things that I mentioned?
I mean, yes, I do have thoughts. I always have thoughts. But yeah, I'm Cancer rising. So, and it's interesting because I did not resonate with this aspect of my chart at first. And I did hear somebody say once that our rising sign can be something that we grow into, which I was
Mm.
like, I feel that. And
Hmm.
I do, feel like I almost think I experienced it more from like shutting off for a while.
Yeah, kind of like almost rejecting the emotional side,
Yeah,
or yeah.
exactly. Especially because there's also a lot of fire in my charts.
Yes, yes.
Being told as a little kid to like, not have a temper and to like,
Mm.
you can't express these things. Or if you are gonna throw a tantrum, then there's a bit of then you're gonna be shut in your room. That is
Oh, yes.
not throwing any shade on the parenting I received.
Yeah, yeah. No.
These things are, these things happen with the best of intentions,
Yeah.
right? And I have a lot of admiration for my parents and what they did for me. But these are little
Mm-hmm.
things that we can internalize as children,
Definitely.
and think like, I have to keep it together. I've got to hold this in, like this big
My
feelings.
emotions bother people, right? That was a big one for
Yeah,
me, is like, oh, I can't be emotional because my emotions will bother people, and I don't want to bother people. Yeah.
exactly. It's inconvenient,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Yeah. What about yourself? Like,
Yes, I can. It's really interesting. So my Cancer energy is in the fifth house, and which is creativity. It's also the inner child, and it's like this playful, creative energy. It's very connected to pleasure and things like that. And yeah, I felt very much like that whole I don't want to bother people with my big feelings. I'm a very emotional person. I have really big high highs and low lows, but I tend to keep it to myself, and that's a pattern that I'm in the process of healing at the moment. But yeah, and just kind of feeling like, oh, I don't want to bother people because I'm afraid of being, seen as being emotionally manipulative. I've known people who are very emotionally manipulative and they're in my life, and it's like you don't want people to think, oh, you're trying to get them to do something by just sharing yourself and sharing your emotions. But at the same time, I think that when I want to be creative, I do see myself as a highly creative person. I think we all are in our own way. But when I want to be creative, tapping into my deeper emotions and relationships, that's really a source of my art. And so I definitely see that fifth house Cancer energy, and I'm very excited about this season to be able to explore the creative potential that I have that I maybe have suppressed in some ways. Like I write poetry, but I never share it. I'm like published poet and I never share this stuff. Used to want to be, I sing and I like never sing. I mean, I sing as a joke, like on my podcast sometimes, but I also sing for real and I enjoy singing, but it's like, oh, I don't share it. I think sometimes with Cancer, there's this thing of like, we have this
Hiding.
yeah, we have this love, we have this, but we hide in the cave and we're like, oh, it's not safe to be soft and squishy and vulnerable. And this Cancer season, I'm looking forward to sharing more of that and not suppressing the feeling and not suppressing the emotion and not suppressing and letting it come out in a playful way and letting it come out in my art. I think that's really important. I do also see in myself because the fifth house can be dating as well as like not contractual relationships, which would be seventh house, soulmate connections, but the fifth house could be playful, like acquaintances dating. I have like, I can definitely see myself not wanting to be anxiously attached, and so I go to the other extreme of like I don't need anyone. And so I think with Cancer energy, yeah, one of the critiques of Cancer energy is codependence. And for me, I go so far to the other extreme that's like, oh, I don't want to be codependent, so I don't need anyone. But it still can be sneaky in there. I've had some friendships in the past, where I've been very like, anything for you. Like, I just want, and it's clingy and I don't see it until the end. And yeah, so I think all of us can probably point to maybe some areas where we can see some of the Cancer energy coming in. So I hope my sharing helps people to kind of see it for themselves as well. Yeah.
But you're right, some things can be so sneaky, like that
So
whole
sneaky.
like emotional manipulation. Like you can be with like you're thinking you've got the best of intentions.
Yes.
You're giving, you're giving, you're giving, but when you truly look at it,
You're expecting something back.
yeah, exactly.
Yep.
It's not it's
Look at all these things I did for you.
yeah.
How come you're not giving it back to me? Yeah.
And a lot of the time, like I think with the archetype of the carer, like there is like this sense of significance of being the person who's like doing all the giving. Like you are actually receiving by
Yes.
being the one that gives.
Yes, yes. I think motherhood is an incredible initiation into giving without receiving. Because of course, yes, I get some beautiful things, and my son tells me he loves me and I'm the best mommy and all these things. And yes, I mean, yes, it's amazing. But most of the time, it's I'm doing all the effort, doing all the things, and he's like, I don't like that. I don't want that. No. Like, I don't. You didn't cut the crust off the toast, right? Like, no. Like, So motherhood is this incredible, just to talk about the archetype of the mother, giving without needing to receive. And I think a lot of mothers, unfortunately, were not taught how to do that. We're taught that like the path of the martyr, right? Which is like you give, you don't receive, you get really wounded and
Well, there's
upset
this
at everyone.
massive expectation on your child to like meet your
Yeah. Yeah. And I never want to do that. So, yeah, exactly. So, anyway, it's a beautiful, I think, initiation motherhood. And just whether you are a mother of a child or for a baby or a project, just thinking about it with your business as well. Do you have any hidden resentment? Like that's something that Cancerian like energy needs to heal is a hidden resentment. So, do you have any hidden resentment towards your business? right? For like, I've put so much energy into it and it's not giving me back, right? Or a friend, or a child, or a partner. This is a good season to get real honest and loving and compassionate towards yourself about those kinds of things. So I'm glad we brought that up. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I was just thinking like, are you super attached to outcomes,
Yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Because ultimately, like, you need to like, nourish and help whatever your project, your child grow and
Yes.
evolve and then stand on their own 2 feet. Or if you create
Yes.
a piece of art, like once it's created, is it really yours? Like, does it still belong to you?
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
Do you care how someone displays it or use it or appreciates it? No, let go. Like just,
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
let it be.
Yeah.
Because
Even
there's
if
more where that came from. I think that's the lesson. If there's any resentment for your art or your projects or the love that you do give and the caring that you offer, is like there, it's infinite. Remember, like love, art, beauty is infinite. It comes, as long as you're taking care of yourself, you have more than enough to give. And when you can be in that grounded, centered place with yourself, then there's no need to play this role of the martyr. There's no need for manipulation. There's no need for anything because love is infinite.
yeah, and trust that you've given enough, trust that
Yeah.
you don't need to overdo it.
Yes, you don't need to overdo it, and it will come back to you in other ways. So, yeah. Yeah. Mhm. Beautiful. So, we have some key dates that I wanted to mention to everyone, some big dates, some big gateways. So of course we've had solstice, and so I feel like I'm still in the afterglow. I don't know about you of solstice. It's really lovely for me. I know that we had some really, challenging news over the weekend, war potential on the horizon. And at the same time, I just feel like there's so much duality, right? That's the word. Like there's so much duality. There's, forces in the world trying to create, death, separation, anxiety, fear. And then at the same time, I believe it's also having an opposite effect. We're all coming together. I see, people rallying behind, oppressed people everywhere. Iran, America, protesters, the ICE raids, like it's incredible. Like we are creating, I think, a stronger community now than ever. And I want everyone to think about that. Like, you know, the solstice and this Cancer season, even if, bad things happen out in the world, there is always, this incredible groundswell of love and connection that is possible for us. And I think we're all part of creating that. So, yes, solstice is a wonderful opening to the heart and letting the heart lead and guide you in the world and connect you to your people. Then we have tomorrow, the 24th, we have Jupiter Kazemi, and I'm so excited about that. So, this is the luckiest day of the year, truly. Like the luckiest day of the year from an astrological point of view would be Jupiter Kazemi, Jupiter in the heart of the sun, and Jupiter is in the sign of Cancer. So, the 24th, Tuesday, is a wonderful day to tap into the energy of what you are opening to receive. What is it that you want to receive? What are you creating? How can you be more expansive about it and not hide in the cave or the closet? It's time to come out. It's time to, let yourself be seen and let your dreams and goals be seen. Then we have our new moon on June 25th, which is a really beautiful manifestation moment the next day. Right there with with Jupiter as well, the great expander. I just think this week is such a lush energy. And then we have one of our big gateways of the year happening on July 7th. So circle some of these dates. I'm not giving you all the dates. You got to be in the membership to do that. Please join us anytime, the Constellation community. But one of our big gateways of 2025 is Uranus changing signs. Uranus, for the last 7 years, has been in the sign of Taurus, disrupting all Taurian things. Now it's moving into Gemini as of July 7th. And now it's going to be disrupting all Gemini things. And we'll talk more about that on this podcast later. but just make sure you circle that date. And then the last big date I want to give you is July 10th. We have the full moon in Capricorn happening. And so that's a really good date to circle as well. We love full moons. And this moon is happening in the gate of ambition. So this is very much about your work in the world, your diligence of what you're creating and getting out there, and your public life and your work life. So good stuff. Anything before we close, anything you want to add, Nicola? I loved our discussion today. I feel like we really covered so much around Cancer energy and what people are can anchor into, but is there anything else you want to share?
The only thing that I will add is, and especially when we're working with these upcoming dates that are coming up,
Yes.
I think it's really an invitation to tune in and to connect with our intuition, our inner knowing, and
Mm-hmm.
really and truly, like, we are our best authority.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we just need to like lean into the trust,
Mm-hmm.
trusting ourselves, just fostering that connection with self.
Mm-hmm.
Especially like you said, like there's a lot going on, and sometimes we just need to quiet down and tune inwards about what's right for us right now. What do
Yes.
we need? How can we really, like you saying, reparent, mother ourselves, raise ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
give ourselves the things that we need so we can really be our best light in the world right now.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, I love that. On that beautiful note, tapping into the heart centeredness of this season, we will say goodbye to you now. We hope that you have an incredibly beautiful heart opening this Cancer season, and we will see you next time on the podcast. And make sure you book a reading with Nicola because she can help you to unlock all of this beauty in your chart as well. All right, see you later.